Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. Tony Zeiss here. I am joined by Andy Helko. Andy, you're the author of a new book, The Omniscient Buyer. We're going to dive into kind of the big concept behind the book, but do you mind telling me what led you to taking it on to write the book, Omniscient Buyer?
Omniscient buyer. They know everything.
Yep.
I took it on because AI is changing literally everything about marketing and sales. And what that really is that people that you're selling to and that you are buyers of your product or services, they have access to unlimited amounts of information with no friction. In the past, lots of friction, and we're going to talk about that. In getting information, it took time, you had to think about it, but AI has unlocked that. No friction anymore, and people can know anything in an instant about you, what you do, who you compare with, how good you are, what other people have said. The list goes on. And so the book is all about that, this monumental shift that is happening in how we sell anything and everything.
And I think that it comes at an incredibly opportune time that you write the book, that this is being discussed, and this is why we have this show, because this shift, to your point, is monumental. And I don't think enough businesses are thinking about it from that perspective. Everyone's thinking about how to implement AI, how to use AI within their business, within their product. But from the perspective of what this has armed and equipped the buyer, the user out there, the general, member of the general public. I think this is probably the biggest shift since maybe the internet, right? As far as
Yeah,
what is available to them.
yeah, you just jumped up on my soapbox. It's not very big, but I stand on it constantly. Is that everybody is hyper focused on implementing AI into their business, becoming more efficient, automating processes, generating content. That's all great. But what they're totally ignoring 100%, is that the people that they're selling to have that same power. It's as if we gained a bunch of these superpowers and we think we're going to save the world and we can fly over buildings and lift heavy things, but we didn't realize that everybody else got superpowers too. And so it makes us, not special. And so we really need to think about that, is that this outside world, these people, when they come to buy from us, they've got AI sitting next to them, advising them and saying, nope, you might not want to buy that because of this. Or, hey, you should ask these people this question to really find out if they know what they're talking about. Whatever it might be, AI has given everybody superpowers. And so you can't stand there and think, I'm just going to work on myself.
So fundamental shift, and just to bottom line it, like what we're talking about here today is that sellers are no longer in charge of that flow of information. The buyers have access to, it's an even playing field. We talk about the idea of kind of that information imbalance in the old days when there used to be door-to-door salespeople, right? You bought a vacuum from the guy that kind of demonstrated, because they knew all about the vacuum. They were expert. Things have changed with internet, social media more and more, but what AI does is make people basically become experts. I think just thinking about it now, a good analogy to this is how doctors feel this, right? Like patients come in and they come in with diagnosing themselves, symptoms, like how to treat all that, which has got to annoy them immensely, but they're incredibly educated because they have access to information that is unprecedented. So that's kind of what we're talking about, is the loss of that narrative control. Why does that pose such a big change in the landscape that we're talking about it, that you wrote a book on it?
Yeah, you said it exactly, and we've seen this shift really happening over years. But let's go back to that 1950s that you talked about. The Sally's at home with the vacuum cleaner. She sees an ad, it's broken. She sees an ad, and that's really her only information. Maybe she might ask someone down the street, but you didn't get on the web. You couldn't learn anything. You couldn't browse. You couldn't see reviews. What the company told you about the vacuum cleaner in the ad. That's what you knew. Or if you went to the store, you had to trust the guy that was selling it to you, that he was giving you the truth and he wasn't just hyping something up. We shift all the ways to the internet age where now maybe we can go online and do some research. We got to pound through a bunch of sites. We got to learn. Then social media came and we could see if there were reviews or people were talking about things. But again, it took time. Like either something had to come in our feed or we had to search and look around and then we had to validate it. All that is that friction I talked about earlier. To actually go through the process of really understanding what you're buying takes time. It takes effort. I've got to have 50 tabs open so that I can click through and say, oh, let me compare these two products. Let me see if it's got this feature. And I got to do all these things, right? And so this shift is that AI delivers it all in 1 second. 1 second, whether you're on your phone, you could be in the store, you could be at home, sitting, watching, whatever. And any question that you ask gets answered like that. And I love your doctor analogy. I heard that again just the other day as people go in with a printed 10 sheets of what ChatGPT told them about, what their symptoms are. And I know people used to do that probably with WebMD, but now it's totally different because they're getting custom answers and they're getting all this detail and they're getting information that WebMD didn't have because it scoured thousands and thousands of comments and sites. And so now they're walking in with this hyper-inflated ego about what they know. And in some cases, it's good, right? I actually think in the doctor scenario that you just said, that's great. We should have informed patients
Right.
that are going to doctors. But when you start pushing this around to when you're selling a product or you're selling a service or whatever you're doing, this becomes a huge barrier for you, and something new that you've got to, wrap your head around and learn how to sell in an entirely new world and environment.
And for the sake of sales, this is a 2024 report from Gartner. It's the Gartner B2B AI report, again from 2024. So in today's landscape, this is old, right? But even with that, here's the number. It says about 61% of B2B buyers prefer a sales experience without direct sales rep interaction, relying on AI. Crazy. Like they don't want any interaction. They just want to be guided.
I think we all know that in our heart of hearts. We don't like to do it, right? Like,
Right.
I want to get to a point where I can almost have my decision made and I feel confident. And then maybe that last little yard line, I'm working with someone to help clarify. And it's always been that way. I know for years the whole thing of people do 70% of their sales process or research before they reach out to somebody. This book, I say, okay, well, we went from 70 to 95% because now people can really dig in and get anything that they want.
So how is this playing out that you've seen in the actual sales process, in those actual small windows of opportunity? I get to talk to you. How is that changing that dynamic?
I think a lot. I mean, there's so many things, and we're going to dig into a ton of it as we go through this series. But I mean, people are showing up with what I call synthetic expertise,
Mm,
where they think that they have expertise in a topic because they searched it, but it's synthetic because they have zero real world experience. They
right.
show up with AI ego. My AI, like, we start getting egotistical about, like, we can go in and do anything, we can learn anything, we can explore it. We start coming in with heavy confidence in every conversation anymore. Real time fact checking, that people can have these things listening in real time and either giving them feedback right there, or as soon as you hang up, it's providing a summary with commentary. These are the types of things that salespeople are not ready for, is that they get on the call at the very end of the process. Someone's already shortlisted, not three, five, but two that they did a ton of research on. They have gallons and gallons of information that are sitting there, that they've pulled up and they've combed through with AI and asked different questions, and they're really confident about what they think they know. And so salespeople are going to have to deal with this entirely new monster, not even counting that real time, where anything they say, any document they send, anything that they provide is going to be analyzed by AI and is going to be opinionated by AI of whether it's valid, real, whatever it might be.
Right. And as we're talking through this, I'm thinking like something that I do that I'm realizing is how I'm like kind of jumping that gun, trying to move further down the path. As a consumer, when I go to a website, if I find any service that I'm looking at, any solution, if I go to look for the pricing and it's not publicly available, I'll put in a ChatGPT, I'll ask, and I would say 95% of the time it gives something. It might say pricing is not publicly disclosed, but here's what we found, but almost find something. So if salespeople are kind of holding that as, well, we get them on the call because that's when we'll unveil at the end after we get a bunch of information. That call can be turned on its head because that person could just say, okay, so my understanding, you guys price it, this per user or whatever it might be. They might just toss that out there, and now you're caught off guard. You have to be able to respond to that. So it's a different world entirely.
Even public pricing. I'll tell you, the one thing I hate buying is cars. Sorry to say it, car salesman, but it is absolutely the thing that I hate. Yes, there's pricing out there, but imagine going into AI now. And in the past, there was some friction because you could go out the websites, you could maybe see, someone mentioned that they got a deal, or you could go on to Kelly Blue Book and get a
Right.
sense, or I'm sure other sites had things. But now with AI, you can basically say, I'm looking at these two cars, tell me everything, and go out and find me what are the best deals that you're hearing about. And it's going out, and it now AI can do web searches, so it's going out and looking for information on sites. It's pulling in reviews, past information, and it's going to sit there and tell you, hey, on Reddit, this person mentioned that they got it here. And on this website, it shows that the value of this car depreciates really fast. So you should think about that and only pay this much. And on this site, this, right? And it's scouring thousands of pieces of information that some sales car person has a MSRP and they're waiting to get you in the door. You're going to walk in there with just information about 50 people that said what deals that they got somewhere out on the web, what
Right.
this site says about the value of the car, what deals are available because other people wrote it on these other sites. The old friction of having to go look at 40 sites to find that information. I mean, they're doing that on the way to the dealership in the car and getting all of that information, and AI is providing it in a very concise and easy to read format.
Not to mention typically things that were unspoken in the past, like dealer markup and things like that, right? So
Yeah,
It's
it's going to give you an outline. Say, hey, I mean, look at how AI does it now. Would you like me to at the end? What it's going to do if you ask about the cars and say, you should look out for all the upsells. Want me to list the ones that I think are most valuable for you.
right.
And so now you've got AI acting as an advisor. It's not just an information source, it's literally like coaching you on how to get the best deal. And so, again, this is every service and every product. I mean, I've used AI now to get, saws that I'm looking for a saw. So I go, give me a comparison table. I go and buy some service. Tell me everything about this organization, right? I mean, it's just now the frictionless advisor that we constantly have with us telling us yes or no, or look out for this.
So that's a whole lot of caution for people running businesses, people in sales and marketing. So with that in mind, we want to give you guys some actionable takeaways on every one of these episodes. So first actionable step, Andy, we have here, it's conduct an AI audit. What does that look like? How do you do it without asking AI or
Yeah, and I think we're going to get into that in a further episode in so much detail, but just the very simple thing today, go think of some questions that your buyers might throw into AI and do it yourself and find out what they think. What these AI organizations think of your business or what they respond.
right?
And we'll talk about it, but you can't do that in just one either. You've got to do it in multiple AI platforms because they're all going to respond a little bit differently. But at the very base level of this, and it gets way more complicated, go out there and at least start figuring out what these AI engines are responding when people ask questions.
Well, awesome stuff. New world out there, guys. We're going to be diving into this a whole lot deeper. So please subscribe, tune in, and catch us next time. We will see you on our next episode. Go search your business and see what those AI tools are saying about you today. Take care, everybody.
Thanks.